Yep. Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Sure.
This kind of permeates across every parish. Somebody comes in, they're baptized. They have godparents. If the parents aren't there raising the child in the church and the godparents aren't there, what is our responsibility as parishes to engage these people? Part of the question. Some of those young people who have a little something in their heart will start showing up on Christmas or Easter, the old CME crowd. And I've heard too many times, too many parishes over the part of the CME crowd. My answer is no. There's still a spark.
CNE.
What are we doing to cause that spark to burst into a flame of passion for the faith? And that's something that's lacking across the entire archdiocese. It's not a criticism of anybody. I don't know the answer. I've asked this question time and again. I've asked it in our church. I've asked it with the leaders of the church. What can we as a community do within our parishes to pull those people, those young people? If we don't pull them when they're young, the old saying is, okay, well, they'll come back after 18, they go to college, then they'll get married, they'll come back, get kids baptized, and they disappear again. And then, of course, they come back to mom and dad, they come to the funeral, and they disappear again.
Okay.
How do we break that vicious cycle?
Thank you.
And that's the
Yeah.
question that just constantly
Yeah.
in my
Thank
head.
you.
It has been for years. If you have any ideas,
Thank you.
I'd love to hear them.
Thank you. I would love to talk to you more. What is your name?
John Carroll.
John. Hi, John. I would love to talk to you more one-on-one, but because I want to pray and think about what you said and not just give like some answer that is going to work for everybody, because it's not. But I would say a simple, just short thing, and then I'm going to go into actually some of the things that I think will answer your question, is relationships, connection, small things, and not programs, events. Come to us, kids. And I'm going to go into that right now. Thank you, John. Okay. So I want to offer 3 points here that may help in giving our young people that sense of belonging and purpose in our communities and in the world. The first that I think is the most fruitful is always to go to them. Okay. I often hear like parish youth workers express that it's hard to get kids to come because they have a lot going on, and maybe some of you are experiencing that. I know I did. Like I lost sleep for a while as a parish youth worker. It's like, where is everybody? There's a lot competing for their attention. There also, I think, over the past few years, there's more hesitancy in just jumping into something new. So they need a little more like trust and relationship cultivated in the beginning. For some people, not for all, right? And this is none of this is like everyone, okay? So maybe we shouldn't wait for them to come, right? Maybe we should go to them individually. And maybe we should bring ourselves and the church to them. Because when we just plan things and like tell everybody, right? And a lot of times a lot of people come, sometimes a few people come, okay? They're more likely to come if they know you and trust you and know that you love them. They're much more likely to come, okay? So it's putting less worry into the amount of people, I think, that come to things, and starting with taking the time to know each person and to hear them, right? Relationship is what opens the door to someone choosing on their own to be present in the community. Like I think I went on this journey when I was a parish youth worker to like think about the program I was going to plan, and then I was like, maybe I just need to like take these kids out for ice cream. And that's what I started doing, like I'm going to go to your game, I'm going to go to your house after school and like eat a bunch of food with your mom, and just kind of create this like, okay, Katrina loves me, right? And that's really, like a lot of people that do youth ministry, people think it's like, oh, you must like really love kids. And I'm like, yeah, I love kids, but that's not why I do it. Like I do it because I see the fruit of actually really loving kids, like really loving them. And they need to feel that, right? They need to feel that I have been seen, I have been heard, I have been acknowledged. She likes my pink hair, so I'm going to hang out with her, This is, and this is just modeling after our Lord and what he did, right? He went to meet people where they were. He looked upon them and loved them and invited them to be with him. So if we purely and truly want our young people to know that light of Christ and trust him and choose him, we must show them his love without our own agenda or trying to influence them. Like I said, if they feel loved and welcomed, there's a greater chance they will choose to be part of the community. And I think that, when we notice kids that are even like they're without their parents, especially, or like they don't have a grounding, it's like, take the time, instead of just like asking them to like teach Sunday school or something, or like, help me clean up after this event or whatever. Like, just build that relationship. Build that relationship. Whatever says to them, I see you and I want to know you, that's the thing to do, essentially. And then the second point is to listen to them. To just be listeners. Right? Instead of like telling them what we think that they should be doing, just to be listening and welcoming the experience that they're having. And I think that's really at the heart of developing those relationships. The way we listen sets the tone for everything that follows. Listening with hospitality goes hand in hand with how Jesus approached every person he encountered. The beauty of existing with a spirit of hospitality is that you are always open and inviting, and you don't force disclosure or sharing or seek it out so that you feel needed. You exist with a spirit of openness and invitation. If anyone's read Dr. Al Rossi's book on Becoming a Healing Presence, wonderful book, he says that listening is love delivered, which means when we're truly offering hospitality, we're making room for the person in front of us to experience the presence of Christ and his love. So to the extent that we are able with young people, I say this out loud to myself because it's really hard for me, we should let go of listening to be a critic, to fix a problem, or to find similarities. Dr. Rossi says that active listening is not judgmental or critical or patronizing or advice-giving. Active listening does not try to fix problems. It is simply being fully present to the other as the other speaks and showing the other person that we heard what was said. So to listen is really to let go of your agenda, which is really hard, to let go of your opinions and the result that you want. Because often we can go into a relationship with a young person with the result already in mind. I want them to be doing this more. I want them to stop doing this. I want them to. And we can kind of, without us realizing, we can let that lead our interactions with them, like the result. So that's why I think one of the biggest interruptions to listening is that fear that we're not going to get something across to that person. Like noise creeps in and you start to get afraid that you're affirming the person's actions, or you're afraid that you won't know how to respond. And listening is, something I think about a lot. And even in the past week, I think 3 people have asked me about this. Is listening affirmation? And what always comes to mind is no, right? It's like listening is not affirmation. It's not about agreeing or disagreeing. And it's not an opportunity to fix problems. Like if listening was affirmation, then Jesus wouldn't have talked to anybody, right? So when you listen, there are no other plans besides to understand. And then, if you build this relationship, and the few, one of Father Thomas Hopko's maxims is to give advice only when you're asked, or when it's your duty. And I heard him say that live. Live is a funny thing to say, but you know what I mean. I heard him say that once at a retreat, and it just never left me. I think I was 15 years old. And it's like, he says, only when you're asked, or if it's your duty, is like the little addendum, right? And when it's your duty, it's like very rare. Like you're in a spiritual father relationship, you're the parent, you're a sibling maybe, it's not, there's really few cases, right? And so I think when we build that relationship and we put that first, we see and know when it's our duty to really give that advice, especially if we're asked, and when it's necessary, right? And I think the third thing, so we go to them, we listen to them, and the third thing is that we believe in them. Giving encouragement and expecting beautiful things from them is powerful. Reminding them who they are and what they are capable of allows them to feel safe and trusting of your relationship. So just like saying stop or no will shut them down and dismiss them. And what I think is, an intentional action to do that like I've had to kind of change in myself is reminding them who they are and calling out what you see in them versus stop doing that thing that you're doing, right? You're not, like the best way to help a person out of the dark and help them to really know themselves is to point out their strengths and help them reach their potential. Like that's light giving. For example, like if people, this is just kind of a simple example, like if people are talking over each other a lot, right? I was just giving a retreat and there's probably like 200 kids and there was just a lot of shushing and a lot of talking louder when they were talking. And I was like, this is not going anywhere, everyone. Like, look what's happening, right? So to expect them instead to turn to the one even if there's 300 people in the room, like whoever's talking, like that's where you look. And I believe that you can do that because you care about that person and you care about being someone in the room who is thinking of the community first, right? So it's just an example of expecting that they care enough to put the community first and check themselves. I believe you can check yourself instead of me just saying, stop it, don't, no. So when it's time to pause and listen, that person, is guided to kind of look at that, look where, I need to be looking and kind of let my will go towards the community first. At the camp I directed, I realized that having rules was making everyone feel, locked up or just kind of afraid. So I was like, you know what, we're going to talk about a way of life. We're not going to talk about rules. So the first night of camp, we talk about a way of life. I say there's two most important things in this way of life is that you never disturb your neighbor and you never want your own way. And something happened when we started doing that we talked about this way of life, and those were like the culmination of them, and everyone just kind of like falls into it, right? And it kind of chooses on their own from like the 7-year-old to the 17-year-old, because you know what, if you don't, then you can't be, you're choosing to be here as part of this community, and I expect that you'll be here fully. If you want to choose your own way, you're telling me that you don't want to be here. So then you won't. So it's like kind of guiding them and believing in them that they can choose. As they're forming into an adult, we want them to choose, not just to robotically do the thing that we tell them is like right or wrong. We want them to show them. We want to show them. And we want them to choose on their own to follow the Lord, to think about my neighbor is my life. My brother and sister, like that's my life. My faith is rooted in how I am to the person in front of me, how I serve them, how I love them, right? So whatever we can do to show them that, they feel, God willing, that they are a purposeful, whole human being that is being loved and trusted. Because young people become what you expect of them. If you believe in them and expect great things, they'll rise to those expectations. If we expect disrespectful, self-absorbed teenagers, it's likely that we're going to get that. It may be that our expectations of them are actually cheating them out of becoming their true selves in Christ. So involving them in real responsibilities and believing in them, whenever I feel like there's a kid who's hesitant on a yes trip, so a yes trip is essentially a day of really engaging in service with people, it's learning, it's stretching. And so if I see a hesitant kid, I'll ask them to help me a lot. Can you help me carry this? What do you think we should do? If they're not able to like kind of step in on their own, knowing that I care about their opinion is like helping them to step in a little more, and they'll evolve. So taking these 3 steps and making this intentional effort to foster a place of belonging and connection for them can be nurtured really ultimately, like you were saying, by intergenerational relationships and connections. So now I kind of want to shift to just the beauty of that and like how to kind of really do that intentionally, like have these mentoring friendships with, people of all generations in a community. It's great, I think, that our ministries have, our churches have ministries that serve people of different ages. It's meeting particular needs, right? There is great value in the men's group, in the women's group, in giving teenagers what they need. I think when we're fully integrated as members of the body, each feeling connected to the work in the community, something really beautiful happens, right? When everyone is integrated as a church community, doing work together, and not just being social together, I would say being very active together, like doing the work of the church together with generations of people. Building connections that are life-giving and motivating, right? Why do intergenerational relationships matter? Multi-generational communities used to be the norm, I think, and people would just naturally learn from their grandparents because they lived next door, and there was all this kind of, learning and growing together. And we've evolved from that, some neutral reasons, some not so great. But I think either way, it's this thing we kind of have to reclaim, just intentionally having these connections that I think feed people who are older and people who are younger. Because loneliness is a real thing. Loneliness, I'm looking at the time, okay. Loneliness is a real thing. 1 in 3 Americans are lonely, according to a Harvard study. 61% of young people, 51% of mothers with young kids. And research has linked loneliness to mental health conditions, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and obesity. This Harvard study showed that perpetual loneliness is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Yikes. This professor of psychology and neuroscience concluded that. So we're made for connection. One of our, Deacon Justin mentioned that we just started this internship program. And essentially, it's called an internship so people kind of understand what it is, but it's unconventional in that we are looking to support someone, a college student, anyone in college age, they don't need to be in college, who wants to go through like a personal development process and engage and serve their community in some way and create a project. And people have done incredible things, very personal from their heart. And one of the girls that was an intern in the fall was saying that, we have this Yes series. We've created this online community since COVID because we had to stop doing our traveling, and it's really kind of thriving now and creating this space where we have different conversations about different things. And she says, there's nothing for my parents, and my parents want to do things with us. So she created this series called Bridges, where we did this online community, and it was really something I couldn't have imagined what would come from it. But people from high school to, through their 60s and 70s signed up. And we had 3 nights of teaching. And we're working to create this as something you can do on site at home in your parish. But we had people of the same age in discussion groups, and then everyone had a bridge buddy. So someone who was 35 was paired with, there was some kind of bridge there. Some of the bridges were shorter than others. But there was like an age gap, an age bridge. And what we found that was the most surprising is, even one of our speakers was surprised by this in the beginning, that all of the older people were thinking that the younger people just don't want to talk to them. Like, they're not going to want to hang out with them, whatever. But all the younger people, every single person in high school said, it is much more comforting to talk to someone who is older than me, because I'm not worried about them judging me. I'm not comparing myself to them. And that was the most, I think, surprising result of doing this Bridges experience, that the young people needed the comfort and safety of the older people, and the older people needed to, have that like jolt of energy and youth, and they just loved connecting, and there was just so much wisdom to share and so much life to share, and I think young people love to hear stories. They love stories, and when they can hear stories from people they know that have lived life a certain way, and learned, it's really powerful. So, benefits for intergenerational friendships and relationships. Like I said, 22-year-old compares himself to another 22-year-old, feels behind, bad about themselves, and someone who is older can make them feel just like they're okay where they're at. So you're getting some perspective, benefits from all that wisdom that is built up over years, gains a larger perspective, and an older adult absorbs some of that youthful energy, learns new things, gains insight into the changes around them. I think there's just a lot to learn when you're not looking from a distance at what youth are experiencing now, and you're actually kind of digging into it with them. Plus the usual benefits of friendship, companionship, fun, listening ear. So having these intergenerational communities, this is the beauty of what we have in our, at our fingertips, is that every person from whatever age to whatever age is fully integrated into the body of Christ and feels that they have a role. And I would say, like we were talking about roles before, like roles are important, but I think not everyone will have a role with a title within the community. So doing that work together as a parish and being the church in the world for the life of the world is what I think, lets all of us live into our role as a person following Christ, right? Our role, our God-given role, right? To love others as he loved us. So, can I ask for a volunteer who wouldn't mind coming to stand up here with me? Would I? Someone's volunteering someone else? Come on up. Come on up. Okay. Penny. Okay. Hi, all you have to do is stand here. Okay. Right next to me. Okay. Penny. Thank you, Penny. All right. In your packets, if you have them with you, I put in there an article. It's called Fix, Help, Serve. Okay. So now we're going to kind of go even more practical into when we see a lost young adult or a young person in our parish, how do we approach them? What do we do? So if we want to approach someone and bring the light of Christ, someone who is feeling lost, even just, new. Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm. It'll say Fix, Help, Serve on the top. If you don't have it, no worries. We're going to go over some of it. So if you could so I'm going to ask Penny to pretend that you're holding the most valuable vase or vase, however you say it, in the world. Okay? Now you are very, very attached to this vase. Okay? You love this vase. Okay? So, what would it look like to help, to fix, or to serve Penny in this situation? She has this vase to take care of. Okay? So if you look at this article I gave you, okay, I'm going to highlight some of it now. This was written, thank you, by the way, for just standing up here. Okay. This was written by a doctor. Her bio is on the bottom of the article. Her name is Rachel Naomi Remen. And Rachel wrote about when she was a doctor going through cancer treatments herself, how she said that there were people that tried to fix her, many people. There were many people that tried to help her, but not many people tried to serve her. And she talks about how the inner experience of those things can be different. They might look the same from the outside, but the approach, which is what we're going to talk about now, on the inside is what matters. So, if someone was going to help Penny take care of the vase, I'm going to ask for another volunteer who doesn't mind coming up here again. There's like 200 people in the room. Anyone? Okay, come on up. Come on up. Yay. All right. So, what is your name? I'm Mel. Okay. So Mel is the strongest person in the world. Okay? She's super coordinated. Right? She has super strong arms. Okay? Now, Penny, because Mel wants to help Penny with the vase, Penny is going to give Mel the vase to hold because Mel is known for being able to hold fragile things without dropping it.
Also
okay.
extremely klutzy.
Which is very funny. You didn't know what you were volunteering for, did you? Okay. So this vase may be safe and will not fall, but the person does not get to have this personal connection, this person, with the most important thing in their life. They may feel disconnected from the vase or may feel that they are not good enough to hold this vase. So the helper is the strong person who is carrying the vase for them. Okay. So something that you can go sit down now. Thank you. But you can give her back the vase.
Oh,
Thanks. Okay, yeah. So this is something that Rachel says about helping. Serving is different from helping. Helping is based on inequality. It is not a relationship between equals. When you help, you use your own strength to help those of lesser strength. If I'm attentive to what's going on inside of me when I'm helping, I find that I'm always helping someone who's not as strong as I am, who is needier than I am. And people can feel this inequality. Okay? So we use the word help a lot, and really it's 99% of the time a beautiful, genuine offering. But what helping could be at times is kind of stepping in to offer something that is kind of disconnecting the person, right, like the vase, from being able to take care of things on their own. And it's supporting and doing the thing for them. Like if you think of like you're helping a kid with their homework, and you're not helping them do it, but you're like doing it for them, you know. Okay, can I have another volunteer? Yeah, come on up.
come on, Chris.
Okay, Chris? Thanks. Okay. So Chris,
Thank you for coming.
Chris.
and hanging
Hi,
out
Chris.
with me.
All right. Chris is actually a world-renowned vase repairer person, okay? And he fixes things, okay? So what we're going to do now, this is going to be sad, okay? But Penny,
It's gonna drop.
you're going to drop the vase, okay? So Penny has dropped the vase, but don't worry because we have a world-renowned vase fixer person here, Chris, who's going to fix the vase for her, okay? So you just broke the most important thing in your life, okay? And although the person may have fixed it, it will never look the same, okay? There may be some scratches or pieces. No offense. I know you did good work. Okay. The fixer steps in once the vase is broken. That's another thing, right? So the fixer is only there when something is broken, right? So often when we're approaching, sadly, if we approach a person thinking there's something to fix, right, we look for what's broken, okay? It implies that we are the people that put people back together, right? Okay. So thank you for fixing the vase. Okay, we're going to pretend that didn't. You can go sit down. Thank you. We're going to pretend that didn't happen.
I'm still here with the vase.
So I'm going to read to you from the article about fixing here. Okay. When I fix a person, I perceive them as broken, and their brokenness requires me to act. When I fix, I do not see the wholeness in the other person or trust the integrity of the life in them. There is a distance between ourselves and whatever or whomever we are fixing. Fixing can be a form of judgment. Okay. Last but not least, I need a volunteer who is willing and able to sit on the floor here. Come on. Okay.
Am I still holding my vase?
Yeah. So we got a perfectly not broken vase right here. Hi, Ty.
Hi.
Okay, so Ty, if you could just sit right here, that would be great.
Is he gonna drop it off on my head?
Not exactly. Okay. All right, everyone. So this person finds the vase to be just as valuable to them as the holder does. This person wants to do whatever they can to make sure the vase is safe. They know the vase holder and know how important the vase is to them. This person may not even trust themselves to hold this vase and trust the vase holder more. Tell the person, okay, now you're sitting on the ground. I just read my own notes. Okay. So what Ty is going to do is to cushion
Oh.
the vase, or put your hands up. So Ty is helping just by sitting there in case help is needed with the vase, in case you drop it. Because Ty trusts the integrity of Penny to care for the vase. Thank you, guys.
Could that be like Moses with his arms and the people?
Oh, look at that. Nice, nice.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for our volunteers. Perfect timing. Okay. So, what does it look like to serve? All right. So if you have your article, you'll see that when she talks about serving, she says, I think I would go so far as to say that fixing and helping may often be the work of the ego and service the work of the soul. They may look similar if you're watching from the outside, but the inner experience is different. The outcome is often different too. Our service serves us as well as others. That which uses us strengthens us. Okay, so I want to just kind of take this into context a bit and share an example of a girl named Jenny. We're just going to call her Jenny, okay? So I'm sorry? To protect her identity. Yes. Jenny doesn't exist. Okay. So we're going to use Jenny to think about kind of the fix, help, serve approach. We're kind of setting aside the fixing and helping approach and approaching as a servant to someone who she's in your youth group, Jenny's in your youth group, and she stops coming to church, okay? So a fixer may start calling Jenny and offering her rides to church, saying things like, I haven't seen you in a while. Essentially, the fixer sees Jenny's situation as a problem to solve, right? I want a result. I need to get Jenny back to church. And maybe in your heart, like, that's, ultimately it's a beautiful thing to want, right? And we pray, that Jenny is part of the community, right? But we want to be for Jenny what she needs and not to assume that this kind of like, well, just come with me kind of thing is going to be what she needs. Essentially, the fixer sees Jenny's situation as a problem to solve and getting her back to church is the goal. A helper may assume something is wrong and that they can help in some way. The helper may ask Jenny, is there anything I can do? I haven't seen you in church in a while. Are you okay? They might prematurely assume that what the problem is and try to help before assessing the situation. Does that make sense? Okay. Robbing Jenny of an opportunity to express herself and come to her own conclusions about what's going on. An approach that's rooted in service focuses solely and simply on continuing to keep the door open for Jenny and making sure she knows you are there. There could be a million reasons why you're not seeing Jenny at church. Maybe she's taking care of her sick parent. Maybe blah, 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 all these maybes, okay? So we don't want to become anxious over figuring that out. Instead, maybe giving Jenny a call and just like saying, hey, how's it going? I was thinking about you, okay? She might be surprised that you're not asking her where she's been, and that's a good thing. Right? If she's surprised and she's like, wow, they didn't ask me why I haven't been on church for a million weeks. Okay. It's more likely that she'll open up to you if you're not kind of like pointing out what she might already be feeling a lot of shame about. Okay. So connect without calling her out is what I wrote down. Connect without calling her out. Stay present, suspending all judgment and conclusions. So serving honors the person as they are, where they are. A person is not a problem or an issue to help. A person is someone to love. An approach of service, again, suspends agenda and welcomes the person's story. And serving creates a loving and fruitful relationship for both people. Okay? Mother Teresa said, we don't serve life because it's broken, we serve life because it's holy. Which I just love that. So, in a thriving community, right, just like with Jenny, people just feel seen and acknowledged and valued. And everyone chooses to serve, to give, and to show up for the sake of others because they all feel that they belong, right? And, and there's really no, like, perfect answer or something that we can do to make sure that everyone always feels that they belong regardless of what's going on with them and their circumstances and their feelings. Like, there's a lot of things that can just make you stay away, There's a lot of things that can make you go to maybe a place you think is safer because you assume people are gonna whatever. And all we can do is our best to make sure people know that if something's up, they don't have to feel like, I can't say this, I can't think this, I can't wonder about this, I can't doubt, I can't express. But like we're constantly, and these, we're all people that don't have the time to do this, but it makes all the difference. Sometimes physically, like for physical life, it makes a difference, right? To make that time.